Okay, so from what I could see, it seems like you are a man. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but from what it sounds like in the videos you've posted on your page, you're a man. So I'm gonna be mindful of how I do this video, but overall, I did want to reply to this comment because you commented this on my short testimony video I did regarding the feast and how the Father has led me and my family. So for one, my first question is, how is it a stumbling block to share what the Father has done in my life, especially in regards to actually learning deeper in His Word, to go the full distance and walk the way Yeshua did, to make sure I'm not doing what's right in my own eyes? Like, how is that a stumbling block? For two, how is it a stumbling block to be telling people to not feast outside of the land where his name does not dwell? Because how does his name dwell in Babylon when he placed it in Jerusalem to be there forever? Also, how is this a stumbling block, like in the sense of regarding his day? Why is it a stumbling block to tell people to be mindful that they don't profane his day? Because aren't his feasts holy? Yes, they're forever. I absolutely agree. And I believe that when they're done the way how the scripture says to, that they're beautiful in their seasons and things like that. But overall, why would we be encouraging people to profane his day? Also, isn't it more of a stumbling block to be seeing people, especially if someone's a babe in the faith, to be seeing people every week from like March to April, or even sometimes past that, saying happy Passover, happy Passover, happy Passover each week, when doesn't scripture show there's only one day? Isn't that more of a stumbling block than overall not doing his feast? Can you point me also to scripture where anyone got in trouble for not doing his feast? Because wasn't there even a point in 2 Chronicles 30 that Israel did not feast for a long time? And they weren't in trouble for it. So where can you show me that they got in trouble for not feasting? Because the scriptures, doesn't it say to not do what's right in your own eyes in Deuteronomy 12:8? Why is it in that chapter, the chapter that is about his feast, if it doesn't matter how you do them or when you do them or where you do them? Isn't it because, I don't know, maybe his instructions are important? Aren't we supposed to heed his instructions? And aren't we to be like, example, Caleb? Didn't he have a different spirit in him and followed the way of the Lord fully? Aren't we to be like that too? So I also want to know, where did Yeshua ever preach the feast and put that on others, saying that they have to do it or they're cut off? And I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm just saying, where did our own Messiah put the feasts onto others? Because wasn't he focused on the weightier matters of the law, and aren't we to be focused on that as well, on teaching people how to even receive the spirit of truth? Because if they don't even know the milk, how are they going to know the meat, right? So anyways, I wanted to read to you some of Jubilees 49, and if you could put what you think below, let me know, because I don't know if anyone's ever read this to you, or if you've read it on your own, but this basically reiterates Deuteronomy 12 and 16. And doesn't this show us then that we should really not be feasting while we're in captivity? So I don't know how much of this I'm gonna read. Because I already did a video on this with my mom, and I don't really want to read the whole thing. I think I'm just gonna jump around in this chapter because it's a kind of not like super long, but a little bit. So anyways, I'm gonna start with verse 1, and then afterwards I'm gonna skip to 7 and then go from there, essentially. So remember the commandment which the Lord commanded you concerning the Passover, that you should celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, that you should kill it before it is evening, and that you should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. So right there, doesn't it already say celebrate it in its season on the 14th? So we can't do what's right. We can't do what's right in our own eyes. So why is that written? Like, isn't there precepts on how to keep his feast? Like, it's not just feast forever, right? Isn't there even, oh, like you have to do this and this and that? right? So we can't ignore those things, right? Just because his feasts are forever. But anyways, and then verse 7, and remember you this day, all the days of your life, and observe it from year to year, all the days of your life. Now this part, once a year on its day, according to all the law thereof, and do not adjourn it from day to day or from month to month. So doesn't this, okay, right here, there's only one day, right? So why is there people who keep saying happy Passover each week between March to April, maybe even, I don't know if there's people who do it in May, but the fact that people, at least I know for pretty much the whole month of April, like happy Passover, isn't that more of a stumbling block versus if everybody did it all together on one day in the land, as the scriptures say to? Like, why aren't we waiting for, like, to be in our inheritance? Why aren't we waiting for that? Why are we trying to do it in captivity? Like, we're not dwelling in safety, right? So that doesn't really make sense. But anyways, and then I'll keep reading verse 8. For it is an eternal ordinance and engraved on the heavenly tables regarding all the children of Israel, they should observe it every year on its day. It sounds like the day is really important here, right? It keeps getting mentioned. Once a year, throughout all their generation, there's no limit of days, for this is ordained forever. Okay, it's ordained forever, but can we ignore the part where it says once a year? So why are people not doing it once a year? Again, why are people the whole month saying happy Passover? That doesn't make sense. And the man, and this is verse 9, and then the man who is free from uncleanness and does not come to observe it on the occasion of its day, that's what, like the third or fourth time? And so as to bring an acceptable offering before the Lord, to eat, to drink before the Lord on the day, there it is again, it's festival, that man who is clean and close at hand, so in the land, will be cut off because he offered not the oblation of the Lord in its appointed season. He will take the guilt upon himself. I don't know. I'm starting to really think the day and the season and all that stuff is really important here. But anyways, let's keep going. Let's read verse 10. Let the children of Israel come and observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time. Interesting. On the 14th day of the first month, between the evenings, from the third part of the day to the third part of the night, for 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third part to the evening. Okay, and then let's skip to verse 14. For this reason, the Lord commanded the children of Israel to observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time, and they shall not break a bone thereof, for it is a festival day, and a day commanded. So the Father commands it, right? But on what day? The fixed day, not any day, right? And they shall not break a bone there. Oh wait, and there may be no passing over from day to day and month to month, but on the day of its festival, let it be observed. There it is. But this time, doesn't it make it even more clear that it can't be any month, any day? It has to be the day he ordained. So why aren't people doing that? Why are there different calendars and things like that when scripture shows there's one day? It doesn't make sense. And I'll read a little bit more of this, and then I want to read to you a little bit of Jubilees 6, because it's kind of prophecy about what's going to happen, essentially, or what's happening right now. But anyways, and do you command the children of Israel to observe the Passover throughout their days, every year, once a year, on the day of its fixed time. It will come for a memorial well pleasing before the Lord. So is it pleasing to him if you're doing it on a different day? I don't know. I guess we'll keep reading and see what the scriptures say. And no plague will come upon them to slay or to smite in that year in which they celebrate the Passover in its season, in every respect, according to his command. And they shall not eat it outside the sanctuary of the Lord, but before the sanctuary of the Lord and all the people of the congregation of Israel. All the people, right? Aren't they gathered in one place? Shall celebrate it in its appointed season. Okay, I had to get more time, but anyways. And every man who has come upon its day shall eat it in the sanctuary of your God before the Lord from 20 years old and upward, for thus it is written or ordained that they should eat it in the sanctuary of the Lord. And when the children of Israel come into the land, now it's in the land, right, which they are to possess, into the land of Canaan, and set up the tabernacle of the Lord in the midst of the land in one of their tribes, until the sanctuary of the Lord has been built in the land, let them come and celebrate the Passover in the midst of the tabernacle of the Lord, and let them slay it before the Lord from year to year. I don't know, just... Doesn't that make it sound like the land and the day are really important in order to keep the Passover according to scripture? Because how else can we keep it? How else can we do the feast? I don't believe you think we should do what's right in our own eyes, right? Because isn't that in Deuteronomy 12:8? So I don't know. It just sounds really important right now to do it on the day and in the land. But anyways, I want to read to you one more thing before I end this. And again, let me know what you think. And let me know if this is still a stumbling block to his people to preach to not do the feast when we're in captivity and we don't have the right calendar. Because if we had the right calendar, why are there, again, several different calendars and everybody doing it on a different day, even though we just read in Jubilees how there's one day, one fixed time, and it's to be done in the appointed season that the Father chooses, the Father commands, right? So how is it a stumbling block to not do it? Because isn't it better to refrain than be presumptuous and do something that we shouldn't be doing? Because what happens when you're presumptuous? It's not good, right? So anyways, I'm going to read Jubilees 6, verses 33 to 38. I obviously recommend keep reading the whole chapter to get context, obviously, right? But this part especially makes it clear about the feast and about the times we're in right now. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment. So this is talking about the feast days and the new moons and all this stuff. That's what he's talking about. Then they will disturb all their season, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will disturb the season, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances, and all the children of Israel forget, and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons, the seasons, and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from now on shall I declare it unto you. And it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tables the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles. Which, didn't this happen? Because who's doing the feast of the Gentiles right now? And who did the feast of the Gentiles before? Didn't Israel do that before? And that's why they were booted out of the land, booted out of their inheritance for following the ways of Baal, worshiping Baal and the Asherah pole and things like that. And who's doing that in modern day times? Christians. So isn't that something that's happening? So shouldn't this tell us then this is what's happening? Okay, wait. And walk according to the feast of the Gentiles after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon. Now it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy, for they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. How do we know this is written to the Torah movement? Well, the Christians, they're not doing the Sabbath feast or anything like that. What are they doing? They're doing the feast of the Gentiles still, right? So that's how we can know this is written to the feasters who are in the Torah movement, trying to do stuff they shouldn't be doing, right? So for this reason, I command and testify that you may testify to them. For after your death, your children will disturb them, so they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason, they will go wrong as to the new moons and seasons, the Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kind of all kinds of flesh. Isn't this even written in Hosea 8:11-14 about basically how, I think it's like Ephraim has made many altars for sin, so they will be altars unto him for sin. But basically, if you read that, it goes with what Jubilees 6 says here in verses 33-38. So doesn't this show us we actually shouldn't be doing the feast right now? Outside the land, outside of our inheritance. I mean, isn't this why the feast days, new moons, and the Sabbaths are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Messiah? Like, what do you think we should be doing in this time? Shouldn't we be warning our neighbors, mourning for them? Because isn't destruction coming soon? And if that's true, that destruction is coming soon, then why are we feasting? Why are we rejoicing when souls are perishing? There's people going to hell daily. There's people dying, getting raped, and all this stuff daily. But yeah, it's a stumbling block to say not to feast when all this is going on, right? But it's not a stumbling block to do the feast and, according to what's right in your own eyes. I don't know. I hope this helps you see it, though, because it's very important that we hear this. Because won't the living, as Ecclesiastes 7:2-5, lay it to heart? Don't you want to be a part of the living who love their neighbors as themselves, who give up their lives for the sake of the brethren? Aren't we to be like that? I don't know. That's just something to think about.